This 4-minute video demonstrates 3 real-world aspects of using the oxalic acid vapor option for treating honeybees for Varroa mites. We'll observe an open-air test of the Vape-A-Mite and watch the vapors swirl in the breeze. Next, we'll see the impact of brood wax contamination on the sublimation process. Finally, I'll show you the easiest way I've found to clean a vaporizer. Notice that both Vape-A-Mites are well used and equally clean. When you use a vaporizer, chances are good that sooner or later you'll end up with some melted comb in your reservoir. To simulate that contamination, I'm going to break up a pea-sized piece of dark brood wax and sprinkle the pieces into the vaporizer on the right. Then I'll spread 2 grams of oxalic acid into both reservoirs and connect the battery clamps to heat the devices. I cut the majority of the sublimation process from this section of the video because you'll see the whole process in a short while. Here I want you to confirm that the first time we use the vaporizer with contamination, the contaminated device completes in roughly the same amount of time as the uncontaminated device. You'll easily notice the tar-like residue remaining in the vaporizer on the right. In the next video segment, the wax-contaminated device on the right continues to produce vapor until I disconnect it at 6 minutes, 50% longer than the unit on the left. If you weren't aware of the contamination problem, you might disconnect your vaporizer before sublimating all the oxalic acid, or leave the battery connected too long. After cycling through 3 open-air cycles that I didn't record, we're ready for the final test, which shows what would happen if you didn't clean a dirty vaporizer. Notice the blackened reservoir on the right. Once again, I distribute 2 grams of oxalic acid in both vaporizers. I connect the battery cables to both devices and start the stopwatch. I'm doing a 4x time lapse during this section to reduce the length of the video. While the vaporizer is heating up to normal operating temperature, I want to point out the 5 main reasons that I like this method of treating for Varroa mites. Oxalic acid vaporization is convenient because you don't have to open the hive, and you can treat in a wide range of temperatures. The vapor is deadly to the Varroa mite, but according to numerous studies, has minimal impact upon the brood or adult bees. Finally, after you've invested in the equipment, you can vaporize for pennies per hive. Treat 6 hives twice, and you're treating for pennies instead of continuing at the $7 or $8 per hive rate. On the negative side, the oxalic acid vapor doesn't kill mites below capped brood, and the vapor is extremely poisonous to humans. I'll put this bluntly. If you're the sort of person who doesn't read instructions and/or pay attention to health warnings, use another method to control Varroa mites. Oxalic acid can cause blindness, kidney damage, and death, more severe human impacts than other Varroa mite treatments. But keep this in mind. If you follow instructions to tightly seal all openings to the hive, including plugging a screen bottom board, all those vapors that you're watching swirl around in the open air would be condensing and sticking to the surfaces of your brood boxes. Although conducting an open air test is the most dangerous part of this process, I consider it an important part of understanding how the treatment works. Outside air temperature is important. I conducted this video test on a 42-degree Fahrenheit day with a 2 to 4 mile per hour wind. Earlier in the season, I conducted a similar test with our Vape-A-Mite up against a $165 vaporizer to compare their performances, and both finished at approximately 2.5 minutes versus the 4 minutes on this chilly day. Cleaning the vaporizer is easy if you treat it like a cast iron skillet. When the vaporizer is very hot, squeeze a few drops of water from the rag which seals your entrance. If the element's hot enough, the water will boil instantly and pop the tar-like wax compound from the bottom of the reservoir. If it isn't hot enough to boil it free, connect the battery clamps again to heat it up a bit. You'll see that I used a 3/8 inch dowel and the rag to remove a little bit of stubborn wax from the reservoir. If I was treating a hive in this cool weather, I'd disconnect the battery clamps after about 4 minutes and leave the vaporizer in place for an additional 2 minutes to allow all the vapors to condense on the inside surfaces of the hive. I hope this summary helps you be safe and treat those Varroa mites with the sort of action they so richly deserve. Thank you very much.